This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
It's Thursday, folks. It's great to be back here again, and it's always fun, isn't it, Pat? Here in the studio.
Yes, it is. And I just want to tell our family of listeners that Marita wasn't really flapping like a green spotted
come on now. Did you have to share that? We could have just run with that.
No.
Marita would have been fine. It's a better visual anyways.
No, yeah, it is. Marita is very, very good at what she does. And she's very efficient, and she's very gracious about it at the same time. So if you knew Marita, you'd know she's not flapping her wings like a green spotted sea turtle. But that little story, ever since I read it and I reread it from time to time, it really, really does speak to me about everything, as far as being smart. And, with your time, Sarah, just like we were just talking off mic, and, some people get themselves into a place financially that they're taking a second job. And so now the quality of their life as far as being with their family, it's just, sometimes we can be a lot smarter if we just look at, as Warren Buffett said, money being almost free at this point. Instead of getting that second job, you might have the available monies that you need right there sitting in what you've already earned in equity in your home. Right, Sarah?
Absolutely. This is the thing with what's happening in the market is, even if, let's say, your property value hasn't gone up, let's just say that you're still upside down on the mortgage, where you owe more than the value of the property, we can still refinance you and still save you $300-400 a month. So we do have that program. But there are 7 million of us out there, 7 million, who can actually benefit greatly from reducing their interest rate and getting rid of debt. So I really encourage folks to look at debt in a different light. Debt meaning you have 18-19% interest rates on credit cards, where there's nothing that's going to happen here other than a negative on growing your assets. And a home where the values are going up, so you're actually going to not only reduce your interest rate and your payments and getting rid of debt as well. So this is an opportunity, which I always say it's a perfect storm. Rates used to be 9, 10, 12% in the 90s, 18%. That's where we were with mortgage rates. Now we're at 60-year lows. We're at 3-4% interest rates. And if none of this really, you're kind of thinking, well, I'm not getting it, or I'm not sure, or the numbers aren't your thing, let us do the math and I'll show you the calculations, because the numbers never lie, and that'll show you the difference of that $300 to $400 a month. No one wants to pay $100 or $200 of their money to just their existing bank. If they had to literally pay that separately from their mortgage payment, they would be horrified. Mm-hmm. But because it's included in the mortgage payment, because they have a higher interest rate, you just can't really fathom that you're paying $300-400 more. And then if you times that by 30 years, the typical interest that you're paying to hold that loan with your existing bank is $300,000 in interest. That's your money that you're giving away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's a visual thing,
Yeah, it sure is. And speaking of a visual thing, it's a simple process to even just see if that's the road you want to go down, folks. Just, start to gather your statements as they come in, those credit card statements, and put it on a magnet on the fridge. Print off, if you're on, automatic pay with your mortgage or some of your other bills, print them off. Just print them off and put it under that magnet as well. And then make one simple phone call to Sarah. She will look over all of your stuff, and she'll come back to you with a recommendation. And Sarah, sometimes you've even had people that are doing all the best they can, and things are looking nice and healthy, and you'll say, God bless you, you're all healthy, you don't have to do anything. But other times you can come back with a great recommendation, because there are so many wonderful programs out there, many of them government-backed. You deal with 50 different wholesale lenders, and you are licensed in 37 different states, so you really have your finger on the pulse of all that is happening and all that is available out there.
We do. We see the market change daily, the rates change minute by minute, and we are wholesale. So that simply means that it's like an outlet store. It's cheaper, quicker, faster, and also you are in a position where you're not going to be penalized for the fact that you have a lower credit score, or there may have been some issues in the past, which we don't look at, where it's not a reward and punishment game. It is about getting you back on track and making sure that everybody has an option to get financed. So the circle of life with our options is that you can buy your first home with 3.5% down, or if you don't have the 3.5% down, you can actually have a gifted amount of 5% down from a relative or a friend. Or you could actually look at vacation homes. If you wanted to buy a second property, our interest rates are lower for investment properties than anyone out there, because usually those interest rates are a lot higher. If it's an investment property, they're considered riskier. And what's really nice is that we do a lot of the multi-million-dollar properties as well. So our rates are still very low. These are jumbo loans. Anything over $417,000, these rates are usually around 6 or 7 or 8%. Ours are still in the 4% range. So you're saving thousands of dollars just dramatically by refinancing with us because of our wholesale line of lending. And I do encourage folks to also look at your golden years when you're planning to retire, if you're heading in that direction or have, and I've had some incredible stories from our listeners where they have agreed very happily to go into a mortgage-free option where they can take money out of their home. They're 62 years of age, and maybe their spouse isn't. However, they can take money out and they can live in that home mortgage-free. Even, let's say, you have been late on the mortgage. Maybe your credit score is very low. Perhaps you tried to get approved on a refinance with a bank and they said no. They said you have too much debt, you have not enough income, you've been late on the mortgage. We can get you into a mortgage-free option, and it's government-sponsored. So you have a face-to-face interview with the government-sponsored agency, and then you proceed with the loan process. And so I like that. It's all very transparent.
Yes. And, knowledge is power in anything. The more that we know, the better decisions we can make. And the more people that we align ourselves with that are experts in the areas that we're trying to accomplish things, the better. And that's what you are, Sarah. But now, Sarah, I have to. This is a good point for me to be making here, a statement a stat that you came across that said, is it true that women don't like to talk about money? Because what the heck are we doing right here? Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting stat. I think that everyone in general, male or female, don't really like to talk about money in front of friends and family. It is a very private matter. However, it states here that there's only 40% of us or so that do like to talk about money, but here you and I are talking about money. So it was just an article that I read, and I found it interesting and fascinating in itself because we are just not that comfortable about it. And I want it to be something that we can discuss and certainly privately ask questions about and not have to disclose anything that is a very sensitive issue. The sensitivity of finances in itself is that it does create a lot of breakdowns in relationships based on what you've co-signed on or whether you've lent money out to somebody or whatnot. So I've always encouraged folks to find another option, and the option is just to chat with me before you move forward on any of those things, because there are better options without getting yourself bound to a legal agreement on co-signing something, because then if the person defaults, you are now held responsible.
That's very, very important advice. And just even though there is a stat out there, folks, believe me, Sarah is very comfortable talking about money. She knows everything there is to know about it, every program there is out there. I'm just totally fascinated by that, the newest one that we've been talking about, Sarah, that if just one of you are 62 years of age or older, it has nothing to do with your income, your debt to ratio. It has nothing to do with your credit rating. It has only to do with, is there equity in the home? If there's equity in the home, you qualify, right, Sarah?
Absolutely. If there's equity in the home, you qualify. And then again, as I've always said, if you're someone who doesn't have equity in the home, we have an option where you could refinance without equity in the home as well. So that circle of life where we go through periods where there are challenges, there's just no way that we're going to just say no. We're going to explain the situation to you. And that's one of my pet peeves about life, is that when you walk in to a facility or any place for that matter, you're trying to fix something, you're trying to find solutions, and the person there who's an expert says, sorry, it's not going to work. You're not going to be approved. This is not going to work out. Yet you can't really get to the whole solution side of it. What is it going to take for me to get to that next place? And that's what we do. That's why we are on air every single day, to make sure that we find those solutions together to get you into one of those options, whether you're refinancing or you want to be mortgage free. There is an option for everybody.
And you know what? Here comes the green-spotted sea turtle again. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding. Let me give you your number one more time, Sarah. It's answered live, and it's a free phone call 24/7, 1-800-662-9550.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.